So a little secret about me, when I buy something and I don't talk about it for a while, it's generally like one of three reasons. The first is that it's like really complicated and it takes a long time to put a video out. The second is I'm having some issues with it. And then the third, the more often one, is that it is fully integrated into my life and it's become something that I almost don't even really think about because I enjoy it so much. Don't necessarily love it, but whatever it does, it hits those little keynotes in my heart and in my brain that I kind of just forget it's there. That is the FTM-400. In a nutshell, it is one of my favorite mobile radios that I've ever had to experience or use, and I'm very happy to own it. Bit of a spoiler alert. Let's talk about it a little more. So the FTM-400, out of the box, like any other mobile, pretty easy to set up. I will cover my glaring problem with it right up front, and it is the setup and installation in a mobile environment. I like when head units have two screws or some kind of mounting system that you can connect it into so that it stays firm. The Yaesu FTM-400 has one screw that is in the center of the back, but that doesn't mean balanced on the head unit where that pivot point is. It has a GPS antenna, and depending on how you mount it, you can have some problems. So that is the one problem I have with the FTM-400. On to the good stuff and everything else. The Yaesu FTM-400 is a dual channel, dual band transmit mobile radio. It can also receive airband, and it can also receive higher than the amateur radio band that it is on 2 meters and 70 centimeters. On the receive side, it basically starts at 100 megahertz and goes all the way up to 999.9 megahertz. So okay wide receive, but I don't really use it for that. I have used it for airband, and I have obviously used it for 2 meter and 70 centimeters. Transmit side, it is simply a VHF UHF transmitter. Given that this is a GPS enabled radio, it obviously will do APRS. One amazingly simple feature of this radio is its APRS integration. When set to default, you basically will receive lots of RF on APRS 14390. And you'll start getting a ton of pop-ups. If at any time you want to beacon, well, there you go, there's WA6MHA with some of his heading and information there. If you want to look at any of the information of stations you've copied or messages, you click the FWM button, or FMW, and you'll get a list, a station list. These are all the stations you've received recently. You can click on any one of those. Get more details there. You can also pick up your messages. So what you'll get a lot is you'll start getting a ton of pickups. So I got a message today from W6ZAR. And he said HRCC 73. And when I replied to him and said, yep, that's me, he came back and said, thanks, new FTM-400 owner. So it's very easy to send a message. I could just reply to him at any moment here. I can edit my text using the keypad, hit back, and that's all off this FMW mid-screen here. For some more of the nitty-gritty, you have to get off of the pop-up. That's one of the reasons you want to close the pop-up, and hold down the display button, which doubles as setup. There's the APRS window. You bring that up. And here are all your options for APRS in a real straight, flat view. So compass, destination, filter. Let me go in here really quick to mute. We want pop-up, and I want beacon to be off. Okay, I don't want to see the beacons because I'll get too wrapped up with that. I can always go to the station list if I want to see a local station. And aside from that, you just need to set your call sign, which you probably already did, and make sure you're on path. I like W1-1, W2-1. But you can have multiple paths, and that's really nice. So you can work the ISS, you can do all kinds of stuff with that. So just set it to 1, 1, and 2, 1. My call sign's set to 7 right now. And I believe I have a little camping tent icon. I don't know why I picked that one, but. And I leave it on smart beaconing. Smart beaconing is great. Low speed, high speed, changes the beacon, and slow rate 30 minutes, fast rate 120 seconds. So it's not doing a lot of beaconing. I found you don't need a lot, particularly in a high digipeater environment, but you can change that as you need to. And that's pretty much it for APRS. Real simple setup. It will also do the G function tracking that will work with other Yaesu radios that are on the same frequency, using the digital mode to transfer information, heading, direction, speed, that kind of stuff. Basically like APRS local through the digital mode. Clarification, I've not used it in a setting in which it's really important. I have used it with my FT2DR, and they work seamlessly. They talk to each other and you can see the direction that each one's at, which is pretty handy. Or fun, I should say. It's fun and cool. It has a band scope much like the FT2DR does. Which I have shown in another video. I really like the band scope. The band scope is even better on the FTM-400 because it's color and it's bigger and it has a tighter control with that knob. The knobs are great, by the way. That in itself is a great little feature because you can use the band scope for not only your memory channels but on the VFO. The VFO is obviously the place where you'd want to use it the most, and in that capacity it's very fun to use. An interesting note, there are 2 memory channels. One memory channel for your A receiver, transmitter, and your B channel, another 500. So what I found, I stumbled onto this, is when I was programming the radio, I just programmed up a bunch of memories and then it was on the A channel. And I tried to use them on the B channel and it just kept giving me this complaint, no, I don't have any memory. Well, I realized later, I was like, oh, that's a pretty actually handy feature. What I ended up doing was programming the B channels with a lot of the simplex frequencies that I would be operating on, and that's obviously where the APRS lives, so the APRS channel is there, and then the top frequency is where most of my repeater settings are, or repeater memories. So repeaters, radio stations, like broadcast radio stations that are rebroadcast on VHF, UHF, I put those on the top A channel, and then on the B channel, simplex is great because I can scan through that when I'm not doing APRS, and it works wonderfully. I do want to mention, bit of a note, handy tip, don't have APRS on if you're going to be scanning through simplex channels or turning off of the APRS channel. You will squawk APRS packets out on whatever frequency you have set when APRS is turned on that B channel. Like most mobiles, there's not a keypad on the screen, right? There is a soft keypad though. You can push the FW button and then you can click the little box, the box with many boxes, and it will bring up a keypad, and you can then type in whatever frequency you're looking to go to or memory channel. There is also a mic that has a keypad on it, and I end up using that for most of whatever I want to enter into the radio or change to. I find though that I touch the front panel a lot. I use the controls on it a lot, and they're very intuitive. You really are only ever going back and forth between about 3 spots on the screen. You're going to use the bottom couple of buttons that's at the bottom of the main screen, and if you want controls like scan and beacon out immediately for APRS, you'll click that FMW button, and then if you want to actually change settings on the radio, you will hold down the settings button, and that'll bring you up a touch screen with all kinds of menu options. It's very intuitive. When the FT2DR, I know I'm using that as a comparison a lot even though it's a handheld, but there's a lot of similarities to it, and I find that the FTM-400 does every one of these menu options better. Maybe it's because it's a bigger screen or the way you tactically touch it and the mic and the knobs, I don't know. But everything has multi-control inputs. You can use the knobs are clicky and turny, right? As well as then the buttons, and then the touchscreen itself you can obviously control that way. So if you think about it, when you're going into the settings menu gives you all your radio deep controls, the stuff that you want to set maybe a couple of times and then You're not going to mess with it unless you want to change APRS or change whatever messages you're squawking out on APRS, or change the notifications on APRS, which, another side note, definitely turn some of that stuff off. Otherwise, you will get bombarded, particularly if you live in Southern California. And then at that point, you really don't need to go back into it. You just push that FWM button. I think I'm saying that right. And it'll pop up another menu, and then you just kind of click through that. And that does most of the stuff you want to do, like scan, and like I mentioned, scan, like change from low to high, medium power, that kind of stuff. Very, very intuitive that way. And then after that, you can just use the band scope off of the screen, or you can switch from VFO to memory right on the bottom of the screen, and it's just native view. And then you can just use the knobs to switch around between your channels. It's very intuitive. I keep saying that. There's a separate volume control for each upper and lower A and B channel. And they each have their own little twisty and pushy knob. I know I'm saying twisty pushy. There's got to be a better name for that. As far as sound quality goes, go buy a speaker for your mobile. You will have a much better mobiling life. For the first couple of months that I had the FTM-400, I just used the speaker that's on the top of the bass unit. And the bass unit is underneath the driver's seat in my car, and the wire for the head unit comes up and out from there. So I basically had to have the volume cranked all the way on to hear the local repeater when driving down the freeway, even in my car, which is very quiet. So you owe it to yourself to get a speaker. There are many speakers on the market, and you don't need a super high quality one, but I feel like that should be accessory number one for just about any mobile you get, not this one specifically. A couple of other notes: the voice digital simultaneous mode. Basically, when you push the digital button or the mode button, it'll show FM and then like a line above it, or DV and a line above it. And what that means, the line implies that it's going to favor digital if it's DV with a line, but it will also be listening for FM, which is great if you're scanning around, particularly, again, Southern California. There's actually a decent amount of Yaesu System Fusion or Wires X repeaters. So you'll be scanning around and you'll pick up both FM stations and digital stations, and it will seamlessly switch back and forth. Kilo India 6 November Alpha Zulu, just doing a radio check if there's anyone out here monitoring.
Yeah, November Alpha Zulu, you sound perfect into the machine. KM6YLK.
Okay, thank you for the reply, KM6YLK. Kilo India 6 November Alpha Zulu, thank you.
Yes, sir. 7-3s.
Now, this has kind of been a trend I've noticed, that mobile radios seem to be going kind of down this path of having to program it with a computer. And that's fine, because, you know, it's mobile, you can bring a laptop out or whatever, or you can set up on your desk, program it, and then whatever. However, the manual programming on this thing is fantastic. Again, it's very simple to use. There's just a couple of things you have to set, and then you hold down that FWM button, and it will send you to a list of all your channels on whatever the A or B memory banks you're operating on at the time, and then you just click the one you want it to go in, it beeps at you, you hold it down, and then you can edit it, and you can just type on the little soft keypad on the screen to set the name. It's fantastic. It's very, very simple to use. In multiple cases, I don't know what I was doing. I was waiting in the car for a wife. I didn't want to go in shopping or whatever, so I'm fooling around with the radio. I always wait for a kid to fall asleep. I love when that happens, because then she has to go inside, and I can play radio for a little while. So I'm sitting there, and I'm scanning, because I think I was in LA, some northern part of LA, which is kind of far from where I live. And I picked up a repeater. I was like, oh, this is great. Listening, good conversation. Got the call sign when the CW went off, and I was like, okay, cool, program that in. I Googled it, you know, I got the information for the PL tone. Quickly little programmed it, boom, it's in there now, so now it's a part of my scan list whenever I'm going through. Wonderful. I'm a fan of the radio, so it's easy for me to say all these good things. There's very little glaring bad things about it. It feels like a very refined mobile radio. It doesn't feel like it's lacking. It doesn't feel like it needs anything, or that you had to make a compromise. Oh, I went with this radio because it has a colorful, bright screen, but it doesn't do this. No, it feels like it just kind of does everything I want it to do. Very happy. It transparently fit into my life, and it's become one of my favorite radios. Special note on that too. It's not the most whiz-bang radio. It's a little old. It's been around for a while, but it's always something. I don't know what it is, and I don't know why we do this as human beings, but the things that are like the most impactful to us, that we spend a lot of time with, that are just good. They're just good enough, and you use it all the time, and they make your life better. You kind of always just like never really think about those things. You're just like, oh yeah, I really like that thing. But then when you start to think about it, you're like, yeah, no, yeah, that thing kicks butt. It's true in this case. Sure, I have more crazy whiz-bang radios, but every time I get in my car, I'm happy when that thing goes, and I enjoy using it. I mated it with just a simple quarter wave VHF and then, you know, UHF capable antenna, and it's just on a trunk lid in my car. Works perfectly. Works better than all my other mobiles, I feel. Maybe that's just some kind of aura of mystique, I don't know. So here we are in my car. Got the wonderful FTM-400 right here. To enter into wires, just hold down the wires button. Oh, that's not going to do it. Hold it down. There we go. You get the little wires logo. You get this X flashing, which tells you it's calling out. You get a reply. That means you're now on the repeater. In this case, we are on my node, which is in the house, and we're on AmericaLink. So if I wanted to listen to AmericaLink, I would just key the mic. And now we're connected to AmericaLink. 86 people. Great. If we wanted to change that, this little arrow down with a text and a magnifying glass, click that guy. We want to search, we want to go to YouTubers. It's going to search. Click it. It says YouTubers. It's a little washed out. Okay. We're on YouTubers. There's 7 people, including myself, in here. Okay, but that's the gist of it. If I wanted to, I can go back into the room. And I can get in the news station, local news, international news. But I don't think any of that's set up. So let's just click news station. Let's click download. Let's see if there's a voice message. Hey, we got something from Bob. So it's trying to download right now. No data. No data from Bob. Try this one. Well, that's one of the problems with this is you're transferring data over RF, right? So files, data files, digital files, images, all that stuff is going to take a little while. So that's pretty much it. It's very easy to use. If you wanted to do a search for all the stations around you or all the stations you have available, go back. Oh, I don't want to do that. I just went back. So if I wanted to switch this around and just see all the rooms that I could join, just click this all button. You can get down to it from here. You can search for different stuff, but go here, click all. You'll start to query for all. I'm sorry, this is all blown out, but it's saying all flashing. Don't know what's going on with my focus. So this is all the rooms that you could potentially get into. You got AmericaLink and Italy, Texas, etc., etc. So if you just go to AmericaLink, pretty much one of the most popular, next to the Alja CQ room, which is Japanese.
I used to be a big Steelers fan back in the Bradshaw days. I guess I'm showing my age. Also was a big Heinz Ford fan. I'm originally from Georgia. So, got a lot of
so KE0VMP is 829 miles from me. Pretty cool. Well, that's pretty much that. It's pretty simple. You just click the wires button. As long as you got a good frequency and it's programmed correctly in your radio, you can get onto wires really easy, and it's really easy to use. At the time of recording this, HRO has this radio on sale for $409. You'll find that price is pretty relative right now. That is down from a asking price of $579. So this finds itself in the place that a lot of other Yaesu radios has found itself, deeply discounted. The FT2DR and the FT70, both being deeply discounted in this last year. And people are wondering, is Yaesu going to roll out a whole new product line of radios? It's possible. They may be doing that. However, the price that it's at right now is exactly the price that it should be. It's a very good value at the price that it's at. It is still a very useful radio. There's nothing really coming out in radio space, unless there's just something I totally don't know about, which is possible, that would totally dethrone this from being a radio you would not be proud to have in your car. So if you're worried about that, I wouldn't be. If you're watching this from the far-flung future, this is the end of April 2019 when I recorded this, and to me it is a solid radio. Absolutely recommended buy for a VHF UHF mobile. If you are in the market for a VHF UHF mobile and that price point isn't something you balk at, then you would be well suited with this radio, I feel. If you liked this video, please give me a thumbs up. If you have not already, please subscribe. My name is Josh, KI6NAZ. I do these videos, I do live streams on Fridays. I have a Patreon with a newsletter. It only costs $1 to get over there. The links for all that are in the description. Please consider joining the Ham Radio Crash Course on Facebook, an amazing community of people that are out there answering just all kinds of questions across the board, as well as our Discord, which is basically IRC, a chat room with voice and text. Amazing group of people, same people pretty much, that come together, support each other. They're inclusive of amateur radio as a hobby, as a service, want to bring more people in, want to build it up, get more people out there and keep it alive. There's no dumb questions on the Ham Radio Crash Course. We're happy to have everybody in every skill set possible. The more we learn, we're just going to get better at doing this, being a better community, being better to each other. So thanks so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll talk to you later. See ya.